Thank you. Yeah, we will get things started. I wanted to start by, give me 1 second. I wanted to start with a brief introduction about like the AI era, the AI revolution we are in, right? And how it's reshaping how we live, how we work, and how we interact with the world. And I believe that, if not already, we will be in a future where it's as, like generative AI will be essential, like internet. You can't live without it. And I think many of us, including myself, can't think of a, life without AI. And if you think of AI as a genius with incredible potential, but no direction, and that'd be a good way to explain AI and how we can then herd the AI to help. If you can guide the AI and you get better at instructing it, which is the prompting, you get better results. And so let's dive in and explore how we do this through vibe coding. So we will start off with vibe coding and then move into AI assisted coding as well. But before we get started, I want to introduce myself. I'm Rajni Rao. I'm a principal technologist at Aviva, a fractional CTO at Bud, co-founder of Women Coding Community, and also founder of Vision Ariser. And I'm so delighted to have Letizia alongside me, who can introduce herself. Letizia, floor is all yours.
Thank you, Rajani. So, hello everyone. I'm Letizia. I'm a full stack developer specializing on mobile apps with React Native. I work on Mellow Kids and Vision Riser. And this year I've been exploring a lot AI-assisted workflows and vibe coding. And I'm very happy to be here and share my experience with you.
Thank you. So a very quick introduction to our agenda. We will start by introducing vibe coding, some basics of like software development, and then we will also show you how we are creating this from scratch, some tips and resources, and then switch to AI-assisted coding as well. We'll show a live demo, and then we'll open the floor for everyone, like have any burning idea, then pick the burning idea up, and then we will implement it. And I plan to use Replit because Replit gives you, not Replit, Augment. So if you can do AI assisted coding using Augment, we can do that, but you can also sign up for Replit if you can. Augment, I think, gives you 2 weeks of free trial. So it'll be worth trying that and see how that goes as well. So what is vibe coding? So I think the new term vibe coding is here, and often we wonder what vibe coding is. What is vibe coding, and what is not considered vibe coding? So if I were to explain vibe coding, it's a new paradigm in software development, right? Like we've had traditional way of implementing software, developing software. And vibe coding has actually, due to AI, come and change that, where you use natural language to program versus, using other languages. And you instruct AI coding assistants to generate, modify, and even debug the code for you. And this word has been popularized by AI thought leaders such as Andrei Karpathy, and basically you can see a shift from manual coding, which took like forever, ages, to like very intent-driven development powered by the large language models, LLMs, such as like GPT, Gemini, and Claude. And Claude, I'm not selling anybody here, but Claude's Sonnet 4.5 is my personal favorite. And then ChatGPT 5. So I'm a great fan of Claude, and I find it's useful in many ways. So how does vibe coding work? So you basically describe the goal in plain English, like, okay, build this using, for customer management in Python. And then the AI coding assistant will interpret it with your prompt and it will generate a code. and then you refine, review, and iterate that. So the better you are at specificity and detail, the better um, your AI generated code will be. And the context is very, very important, and I'll come to that in a bit. So the benefits of vibe coding is that you can do rapid prototyping. I have, because I work as a fractional CTO, and I work with a lot of female founders, and overnight, when they have to go and go to the investors, I quickly prototype their vision for them, and in specificity, so it can be used it's functional to a certain degree, but it's a very great concept to like have vibe coded and then take it to investment. And what I've done as a fractional CTO, have vibe coded the initial prototype to like greater degree, then taken the prototype and start using AI assisted coding for everything else to make it production quality, to add more features, because there is limits in what you can do with vibe coding through a Replit, Bolt, and the likes. I mean, you can take it as far, and I think there will come a day where it will be able to do everything. But as we stand today, I do not think it's a production quality code. And I say production quality in terms of like security. There is logs and monitoring and testing and all that, but it's still not there where I would be very comfortable or confident in releasing it without reviewing what AI has produced. So there's also lower entry to barrier. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna say, yeah. So this means that anybody who is not done coding can actually produce applications and software, and it's like a leg in, right? A foot in, and start looking at how I can learn about this. Eventually, you will need, but it's a good starting point, I feel. And you can actually ask AI why you implemented this and get understanding of why it's doing what. And I love the fact that you can use AI to help you understand, the best way to do it as well. And I'll pit models to make sure I'll pit it against multiple models to make sure that it is, it's not hallucinating and so on and so forth. But in general, AI has come a long way, and every month we see like the rapid leap that AI models are going through. So, and also for AI assisted coding, there's productivity. There's so much productivity is unbelievable. But at the same time, it all depends on how you define the context. What are the instructions you've given? What are the guidelines you've given to actually get something that is usable? Otherwise, you'll go, if all of that is missed, you'll be spending more time getting it to do some basic tasks and it actually lowers your productivity. So I don't know how many of us here know about system architecture and the basic concepts of system architecture of a software development. When you build a software, you need certain basic components. And I've put the basic components here so you can see some in, like, I'm going to give you a demo in Replit and you can see how this all works. But like very briefly, if anyone needs more help on here, just put it on the chat and someone will, and I will take a look and then speak to it. So let's start with authentication, right? So authentication, I know I don't need to introduce, because any app that you use, any website you go and you have to sign up, you need authentication. So it's a way for you to add user accounts, and you will have and give them the personalized experience, right? Because you want to make sure everything is secure and the access to your app is controlled. So authentication exactly does that, authentication and authorization. Then let's talk about storage. Storage is, I'll go the other end. Storage is basically where it's like your disk, right? If you have a computer, you have the disk. You can then be able to store images, videos, documents, So if your app is processing resumes, right, and it's trying to input a resume, that is, where does it store this, right? So you want a place, if you're developing an app, that there is a place to store such things. Examples of this, like say, if you're integrating with the Replit, Bolt, they all have their in-house built-in app storage. You can also go and store it in Amazon S3. So these are some of the examples of this. You can store it in the cloud as well. Then the database is here, where you will store the user and app data of your users. So you can store and retrieve. Things could be like, someone's someone's authenticated and start using the app, and yours is a training app. You want to know how much of the training they have finished. So you want to store that information related to the user in the database. And the database, I don't want to get too technical, but there are two kinds of databases, which is a relational model and in an unstructured, like no SQL model, SQL and a no SQL model. But a database is where you store this information. And then we are talking about the domain. Domains are like, say, for example, meet.google.com, right? So that's a domain. It's google.com, it's a domain. And so if you've created a website or an app, you want to say, hey, myapp.com, and when you click on myapp.com, you want everything, you want it to go to your landing website, say, for example. So domains are a way of managing application domain and routing. So when you configure myapp.com and you click on, when you type it on your browser, it'll land to where whatever you've created, your application or your website. So I know I've touched on these basic concepts, but I do not think I feel, because I've been in this industry for a long time, and I know what happens when you do not think about security from the start. So very briefly, I want to also warn you about the pitfalls of security and the things you need to be thinking about. So you don't create a app and then put it there and then someone hacks it and you're in trouble. So the things we can think about when it comes to security. And also, I think this is the paradox of vibe coding, that AI can build this for you in 60 seconds, but it also can create some 60 security vulnerabilities, right, just as fast. I mean, apps are getting better and better, but if you knew a little more about it, you can be more more aware and actually start putting these things in your prompts to the AI when you're vibe coding. So, and I would say security, you will have to put at various levels, right? Like on your database, on your APIs, and every layer, every stack needs to have security built in. So just rambling through some of the basic things, you want to make sure that you do not hardcode your credentials anywhere in your code, right? Or check in accidentally any of your credentials, like the API keys or anything, any sensitive information in your GitHub. So that's the basic thing. And believe it or not, the number of times we accidentally do this, and the number of times there has been big hacks because of such simple things that could be avoided. So always bear that in mind. The first thing that should come to my mind is, I'm going to save any secret information in environment variables or secret managers, but that's the way to go. And also, I would implement rate limiting on APIs and on database as well to prevent abuse, because your app's there and everyone's hitting it, and then before you know, you're bankrupt. So you want to make sure that you have you've covered yourself there. The other thing I would think about is validating every input and sanitize the output, right? So whatever is coming into your system, always validate it and also sanitize what goes out of the system. So If there was an exception and you threw the exception, your output was the exception, and it gave your entire call stack, that's not going to be fun, right? Because then you give, like, people know exactly how it's working. So I would also say, if you're talking about websites and APIs and so on and so forth, look at the OWASP, the top 10 vulnerabilities, and it's it's there. If you go Google it, ask like AI, and it'll help you with it. But look at those patterns and see if some of these vulnerability might be in your code. And when you're vibe coding, just say, hey, you know what, actually make sure that you've covered this, make sure that there is no top 10 vulnerabilities in the code, and you like work with it, saying what do you think is insecure, and talk about security, and some of this information is going to come a long way. So I said it and it's there. So security comes first, and also put in some monitoring and logging as well. Right. So we now come to the most important aspect of vibe coding, like how do you vibe code? I think the art of prompting is like very, very essential and crucial, because then you can unlock the full potential of vibe coding. If your output, what's generated, is actually as good as your input. So you have to be, and this is why they talk about context engineering, prompt engineering. There's this whole sort of a lot of materials out there. But I think if I were to like put it broadly in 3 steps, it would be always start with a clear goal, right? Like make a web page. What is that you want? Very, very clear with more detail. So instead of saying create a web page, what is that web page? So create a web page with like a service page and a contact page and a home page, and make them mobile responsive, right? So that is your clear goal if you're building a website. And then break down the tasks. So you have like a big, if you're building an app and you have like multiple features, the context is important, but then get it to break it, if you can break it down, or you can get AI to break it down into like smaller chunk, and say, and I use the concept of vertical slicing. I'll say, right, like this thin sliver from top to end, right? That's what I want to see now. So so you basically break it down into thin slivers, almost like what you do with your backlogs in Agile, and then start working on it. And if context, depending on the tool, the context, which is the memory context of the tool, might be low, small, in which case you want to like create new threads to like implement new actions, right? Like, okay, I want you to fix this bug. That's one thread. I want you to do XYZ, which is a different context, and you want to do another one. So they may be like overarching context, but you want to have smaller tasks to get there. And that's the only way where you can use the context really effectively. And also embrace feedback and iteration. It's like, you think of AI as a junior engineer, and like, how do you spell it out to your junior engineer? Just spell it out to your AI, and then just embrace the whole like feedback iteration process. Sometimes you'll be frustrated, but mostly, hopefully, if you got it right, it's going to be good. And I think with time, this is going to get really good and better and better, as we have seen. So the whole point of like feedback iterate is what you do. So before I start with the live demo and what we're going to do, I want to give you an introduction about the kids math app. So basically, I told you how I use AI for the school. My daughter is in year 3, and she needs to learn her timetables. And I have this sheet of timetables, and I keep telling my husband and saying, oh, put in the car when you're driving them, let her like go through it. No, it doesn't happen. So what I decided is, what if I created an app? I know there are many apps out there for timetable practice, but what if I created an app that was like driven by her? It's her idea of how she wants her app, right? And what are the issues she's got, and how can we tackle that? So So I went through this conversation with my oldest and my little one. I have a little one as well, in year one, and she's a bit upset she's not got her own math app. But it was really nice to see for her to like engage with the app, and she couldn't stop. And so she literally did from 1 to 12 to test the whole app. And I'm thinking, I'm winning here, right? Because this is exactly why I created the app. So um, so the kids math app is very, very simple, at least for in this demo. I mean, she has a long list of what we need to do, but um, what we want to do is have some interactive drills and quizzes. We want to adjust on their skill level, right? Like if they are struggling with one, to be able to understand that based on how long they took there and how many mistakes, and actually adapt so they don't get frustrated. I want this app to only encourage them. Like, hey, you worked, worked really hard. I'm a great believer of mindset, and I teach my kids also about mindset. So I put in a little bit of that. And then I want it to be mobile friendly, design simple, colorful UI, and also with like big fonts and so on and so forth. So it's easily used. And a bad example of a prompt is make a math app for kids with times tables and stuff. Okay, what stuff? And make it look nice. What's looking nice mean, right? And works on phones. Yeah. So add some features to help them learn better. So this is like a very generic statement. Will work. These days AI is quite clever and come up with things, but the number of iteration you have to go through is difficult. But do you have a vision? If you can take that vision and like very specifically um, put it out there, that'll be great. So what I do is I take my daughter's vision, or I want this and I want that, and I take it and put it in Claude, right? And then I say, hey, Claude, give me a prompt that I can inject into Replit. And these are the things I'm looking for, right? Like, and then Claude gives me a prompt that I can use with Replit to build this. So always use tools, many more AI tools rather than do it alone. Use AI to actually come up with it. And I'll speak about some framework which will help us get a little more structured about how we actually prompt. So the next one is, this is an example of a good prompt, right? So it talks about what to build, what are the core features, and what are the design requirements. It has to be mobile first, large text, blue primary color. That's what she wanted. And you should auto save on each question, and the data, I didn't want it on a database. I don't want it back end. It's only going to be used primarily if I decide I'm going to put it out to the world. We can shift that, but for now it's only for my daughter. And as you can see, I want a mood check-in, right? I want her to know how she's feeling at the start of the session, and I want positive encouragement, never negative feedback, and simple breathing exercise like an animated circle. And she's big. I have learned through my daughter a lot about chocolate breathing and hot chocolate breathing, not chocolate breathing, hot chocolate breathing, finger breathing, and also the breathing. And I know they're very high on this breathing exercise, so I put my version of the breathing as well for them. So we are going to go through the two popular frameworks for vibe coding. Like I said, the previous one does not follow it, but as long as you've got in essence everything, you're good. Like say for example, the spec framework. The spec is scope, parameters, E for expectations, and C for criteria. And this is almost like your agile backlog. So you can convert an agile backlog straight in here. So what are you building? Like times table practice app for 7 to 9 year olds. What are the parameters? Which is like the tech stack constraints, local storage, mobile first, whatever, responsive. And then expectations, right? So what are the key features, and how do you expect how do you expect the app to behave? The practice mode, the progress dashboard, positive encouragement, mindfulness break, blah blah blah. And then you go to the criteria, and then you say, this is basically how to know that the app is done, right? So a 7-year-old can use it independently, and all 11 tables work correctly. And then the progress persists across sessions. So if you have done 1, 2, 3, I'll show you an example of what's been coded up as well. And then it loads under 2 seconds because it's no fun otherwise. So that is one framework. The other framework I like the build framework because I like the word build. You're building something, and I can remember it better. And I like that it's a lot more like very specific. So here, what are you building, right? Build what? And then you're talking about like what tech stack, using XYZ, and then what to include, right? Like so must have features. This must work, that must work, and you specify what to include, what's important to you. And especially in an MVP, you have ideas, but you want to say this is like essential for me and this is important. And then you talk about it should look like this, should be that color, it should be clean and uncluttered layout, it has to be work for an ADHD, it should work for different accessibility requirements, whatever the need is. And then you say done when. This is like your criteria, right? Your success criteria, where like the child can practice any table independently, the progress is saved and persists, and she can see how she's been improving over time. And again, no negative feedback anywhere. I'm not saying no negative feedback at all, but for this app, constructive feedback is good. So, okay, so now, before we go there, I am going to take a prompt from here and share my Replit and actually create one for you from scratch. So let me see. So I'm taking the simpler version. And I will share my Replit. Are you able to see this screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, right. So, hi Rajni, what do you want to make? I want to create a web app, data app, 3D game, general, agents and automation, etc, etc, right? So I have just copied the first spec format, just copied it and chucked it here. So I'm going to say start creating the app, and it's going to ask me for some options. So it's actually planning, which is really good. And when you're using AI assisted code, I would say always ask it to plan first, be happy with the plan, and then execute it.
Hi Rajani, can you please zoom in so people
That
can
better?
see? Is it
So you can,
better? I think it's better, yeah.
yeah, and it says it's vibing, and let
Yeah.
it vibe. Yeah, so
Mm,
it's going to
now
vibe
it's better.
for a few. Yeah. So it says, I've created a feature list based on your requests. If everything looks good, we can start. So you can go and edit it. Let me, give me 1 second. Yeah. And then build the entire app in 20+ minutes, or start with the design, because we are in short on time. I'm going to start with a design, and I'm going to start designing. Okay. So here you go. It's a modern web app, and it's going to do, and then I'm going to make, test, and iterate as we go. And then once this is finished, I'm going to publish it, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about how Replit works as well. And whilst we're waiting, I would hand over my mic to Letizia so she can start sharing some of the bits she's done.
Thank you, Rajani.
I'm going to switch over to the I'm going to share this tab.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, as Rajani said, there's a sort of continuum, let's say, between vibe coding and AI assistant coding. So they're part of the same way of using AI to code, but in a different way. And on the vibe coding side, you basically let the AI guide you, whereas on the AI-assisted coding side, you take the lead, and you don't let the AI do everything. You ask it to plan. You ask it to not to edit any code without your permission. You control security, you read the code, you check everything, you check the documentation. So it's just a way of being a developer with a great coding assistant besides you.
Yeah. So if I were to add, right? So vibe coding, you use it for rapid prototyping, any experiment, personal tools, throwaway weekend projects, where bugs are not going to be like life-threatening, right? But like I said, eventually we will get there. But as we stand now, this is where we are. In vibe coding, we are not interested in the code as such. We are not interested in reading the code. We are more interested in like, hey, this is the product I'm trying to create, and is it functional, and so on and so forth. And with AI assisted development, it's imperative that whatever the AI has generated, you have tested it, you've code reviewed it, and you make sure that it's good and it's not left any security holes as well. And that's the only slide. So although both of them need prompting in many different ways, in similar ways, there are prompting frameworks for even AI assisted coding. But in essence, it uses prompts, but it's just what's important. So in one, the focus is on the end product where you don't care about the code, and in AI assisted coding, the focus is on like the code, right? Like it has to be there, it has to be tested, and it has to be production quality. Over to you. Sorry, Letizia.
No, it's okay. I think next slide. So we have there's a lot of AI tools nowadays that you can choose from. We decided to present you the one that we use the most. Rajani uses Replit for starting from scratch projects. I use Bolt. And then on the assisted AI coding, Rajani would use Augment. I use Cursor. Replit is a cloud-based IDE, and as you can see, it enables coding straight away. Bolt is basically a browser-based full stack app development with great integration with different tools and platforms such as Figma, Stripe, GitHub, and so on. And it lets you create a full stack app that it's almost production ready. Unless you want, well, it's better if you, of course, before sending it to production to test it thoroughly or have the code reviewed by someone that can read it. But it's doable to have a fully functioning app using just Bolt.
Yeah.
And then
I just want to say that if you want to use Replit and Bolt, like all of us, there's Lovable, and there's many others that are popping up every like V0 now. All I would say is explore both. Sometimes it's your coding standards, how you work, what's important to you as a developer. You may choose one over the other. It's not that each, one's not good. Like say, I know Replit, at the click of a button, it's published. Bolt does very good integrations with a lot of backends. Then Replit also has got backends, and there's a lot of connectivity. But at the moment, they are all like, catching up with each other. Mm-hmm. So what is lacking now, in 2 days' time, they will be there. So if you have to, I would say just explore it. And then if one tool is not working for you, just try the other tool and see if that works. And that's how, like me, and this is why Letizia and me are here, because we both are completely different people and like different tech stacks, right? Like when I say tech stacks, like the AI tooling, I am a great fan of Replit, and I'm a great fan of Augment. Not that Letizia is not, and not that I don't use Cursor or I don't use Bolt, but that they are my personal favorite. And I think for Letizia as well, she's got her personal favorite.
Yes. And I also, along of these tools, I use also, of course, Claude, ChatGPT, and Gemini. And I think going forward, the key will be orchestrating different kind of tools. because every tool has different specificity and abilities that you can leverage to get to the best result. And for AI-assisted coding would be, yes, we are, if you can change the slide, please. Yes, there's a difference. So they're not browser-based. You have to install Augment on your VS Code. Cursor is a separate application which is built on VS Code and is a AI-powered code editor. They're both great for debugging. I think Augment is slightly superior in debugging. What makes these tools incredible is the ability to read the context and understand how your projects work, what the files, what's the logic, what's the architecture, and that really makes the difference, especially if you want to find a bug and keep interacting. And yes. And also there are great learning tools in a way, because you learn a lot if you start working on a new project. You can learn a lot about the project that code base as well, where to find certain things, how they are connected, and how the front end, for example, is connected to the back end. And yes, and also, yeah, when you use AI-assisted coding and you interact a lot, it's always best to test on the UI, for example, see the functionality if it works, check the console, and also check the code base, because sometimes if you do like changes and go back and forth, the AI forget to remove all the code. And that's, of course, it's not good. So there are things that are still important to keep in mind when you use these tools.
Yeah. And I have been able to like catch the bug that happened in production using, AI code assistant. So literally said that this is what I'm seeing. There were other teams. It was a very critical bug. There were other team members also looking at it, and I used GitHub Copilot, and I was able to like quickly figure out what the bug is through the help of AI. So even in such scenarios, it's really quite effective.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And also for using all the commands in the command line. Super effective. Actually, both Cursor and I think Augment as well, they can also take command of it and do things for you, even push your code on GitHub. So we thought of presenting like a project that we built for the hackathon that was organized by Bolt and DevPost this summer. And this is an example is a very good example of a fully AI coded web app using Bolt and Cursor. It's called Go Compass, and the idea started from the fact that we know that many people don't reach their goal by the end of the year, even if they are motivated, and this is because they don't have a lot of clarity. So we thought of building a goal assessment app, which has a multi-step assessment that helps people reflect, realign, and take action, and also uses AI to create clear next steps and a simple, actionable plan. The app, Rajan, if you go down. Yes, the app was built entirely using Bolt and Cursor and deployed on Netlify. It has a few AI features. So the plan that is created is created very fast in just 10 to 30 seconds, and it uses a contextual prompt, so it looks at all the user's answer before generating results. To achieve this, we connected the front end with OpenAI API using Netlify function. So it was like a very lightweight backend. And also we use Google App Script to save data in Google Sheets because we needed a fallback system in case, for example, we reached the maximum rate of calls on the API and we wanted to being able to generate a plan for the user manually. And then if you and this is the process that we use, and this is quite useful. And I think many people who vibe code would follow the same. And from the idea and from the start is having an initial vision that you translate into a big prompt and a detailed one, like the one that Rajani showed you before. Then you pass to the prototyping phase. In this case, we used Bolt to build the first version and then push it to GitHub. Then we switch to Cursor and start improving it step by step with a lot of iterations and a lot of debugging. And then after that, we switch back to Bolt and leverage Bolt integrations with Netlify. And we connected to OpenAI and to Google Sheets. And then finally, we tested and adjusted and deployed it on Netlify.
I think what I'm going to do in the interest of time, I'm going to jump back to the to our Replit screen and see what it has generated for us. Share the tab instead. What can you see? So it's gone on. It's taken the prompt. It's basically created something just out of the prompt, which is quite incredible. So you know, because it's a kid app, you can go this 2 times table. 10 times 2 is 20, and check. Outstanding. Yay. You know, I get this wrong. Keep trying, keep practicing, and then can go back to home, and you can see your progress. What have you been practicing? What's your accuracy? What's your streak? Whether you're a beginner, whether you're practicing, mastering, expert, which is good as well. And then my favorite button, take a breath, relax and reset. So if you give it a sign saying hold it, and then breathe out. And I did it with my kids. It's actually quite therapeutic. Breathe in. Anyway, yeah. So now, if we wanted to, you can continue to like iterate on the design if you're not happy with it. And then, Lucia says very impressive. Something that came out of like a 10 lines of a prompt. It's pretty impressive, isn't it? And you can then go and build functionality, or you can keep iterating on design. Like if this doesn't work for what it is, then you can say, actually, I don't like this, or you know, you can keep iterating, just be. Or you can go and build your functionality, which means it's fully functional. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to an app so you can see how I publish it, and just introduce a little bit on Replit as well, because I don't want to spend time waiting for AI. Right, I have a math speed mastery. As you can see, I have this thing. I want a quiz option because that's what my kid wanted. She wanted a quiz option where it had a multiple you know, answers so that she can select, and she she preferred that whilst it's loading the page. So here's good. So welcome back, because I've logged in. How am I feeling? I'm feeling great. And this is how I want my 10x. Do you want a co-practice? Do you want a speed challenge? Do you want a quick quiz? So I can start a quick quiz. Well, 8 times 10 is 80. And then, you know, I can go and then back to Galaxy. And this is, you know, finish early. and here's my progress to see what I've done, how much I've got, what's the accuracy, how much practice time, and what's my streak, and so on and so forth. But anyway, so I haven't done much to it other than a few more tweaks, right? Like I said, why is the galaxy so boring? Because what I came up with, the galaxy was pretty boring. So and then I also asked, and I was trying to get some prompt to feed it back in here, and so like the button, it had a button, and that was boring as well, and still boring. But anyway, you can iterate, but I'm just giving you so here I was saying, oh, it's saying Rashni Rao and I want auth, so I try to bring auth in here, like in a very in a very, like, how would you chat to someone? But it's not the effective prompt. I mean, I was just like, hey, let's like do this, do that. But you can actually be very effective in the prompting as well. Like I said, you can go through the framework, and you can iterate and get. I think at the end, you have to be mindful of the tokens you will be using whilst you're doing it. So the smaller the iterations, then the quicker you get there. So that's why you need to be precise. But I think the more you do it, the better you get it. So here you can actually publish this app. So you can go, it's actually published. So it's published on here, MathSpeed Mastery Replit.app. So I can copy this link or just click on it, and this is my app. So I can share it with anyone, and they can start using this app. All you have to do is just go publish. I've just done a publish. You just click on it, publish, and it's done. If you want to buy a domain, I mean, or you have a domain, you can integrate and pull your domain. So instead of it being, MathSpeedMastery.replit.app, you can call it, I don't know, mentalmaths.com, and then you buy, put the domain. You can also buy, and you can say how you want to scale, what's the cost, and so on and so forth. And there's quite a lot. You get the logs, you can get the analytics, and you can manage what you want to do in your in terms of like in infrastructure, slightly on the infrastructure, dumbed down version of the infrastructure. And you can invite people to collaborate, so on and so forth. So yeah, so I think I will end mine here. So let me go back. So share this tab. Over to you, Letizia.
So yes, I want to demo a water intake tracker web app built with Bolt. I'm gonna start with a vibe prompt built on the same framework that Rajani presented earlier, so the build framework. As you can see, it's quite specific, still not very technical, but there are details about the tech stack, UI requirements, what we want it to look like exactly, and functionality and database. And then I'm gonna iterate with different prompts. What I use a lot is meta prompt technique. So I put into Claude like a basic prompt, and I ask it to make it better. And I also specify what tool I'm using. So for Bolt, Cursor, or whatever. I'm gonna share my screen. These are like some example of iteration that we're gonna try. Let me share my screen so I can start. This is Bolt. I'm already signed in. You will have to create an account. Let me just get rid of this. I'm gonna just copy the prompt and chuck it in, build now. And if we are lucky, it's gonna do it quickly. As you can see,
there's a plan mode as well.
Yeah, it has a plan mode as well. You can show it's gonna start showing the files they're building. He has an integrated database now, which is new. I think in August this was not there. So the database will show up here. You can see the code. Here there's no file yet, but you can also access your repo. Here it is. You can see it's doing npm install. Then when you let's say pull it locally, you will have to do npm install again. And then you can connect Bolt to your GitHub. I already done this. And you can create a repo from here directly. And it works smoothly. It's incredible. So now it's thinking and it's creating the database. And let's see. If it's not working, we're gonna try because I have a working one already transferred to Cursor. So in case we're gonna switch to it.
Whilst we are,
Let's give it a 30 seconds.
okay, right. I was saying whilst we're waiting for that, I can show you what options you have on Replit as well. So just give me 1 second. Can you see my screens?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I wanted to quickly. So here's where you can show your, store your app secrets and, how you want to configure it. I don't want to go too much in detail, but like if someone was asking about where do you store it, so if you're using tools like that rather than hard code, you put it here and then say, I'm using this particular app secret. And I wanted to go home and then talk about the integrations, right? So if you look at it, the Replit comes with like 4 authentication, domain, storage, and database integrations. You can go click on it more. This is a SQL database, and this is app storage, where you can just store your files and documents. And this is for your authentication, and this is your domain. And the authentication is quite powerful. It does, you get SSO out of the box, like for Google, so on and so forth. So these are the various other connectors. So basically, you want to send a mail, you want to connect to Asana, you want Confluence, Discord, Dropbox, GitHub. It's quite powerful. And what you do is you can take the code, stick it in GitHub, and then connect your then use AI assisted coding such as Cursor, Augment, update it, and then push it back and to be picked up here, which is quite powerful. I do the same thing for even Flutterflow. Flutterflow is another app another tool, AI tool, where it's a low code, no code way where you drag and drop and create a UI, and you say, right, if you click this should happen, and so on and so forth. Then what I did is, after the whole prototype was created in Flutterflow, because then when the complexity of the app actually increases, drag and drop, it's quicker to like code, right? So I then from Flutterflow pushed it to GitHub. Then from GitHub, I connected, I downloaded the thing, used Cursor, used Augment on top of it, and built new screens. And then when I push the code back in, it gets reflected, it gets synced onto Flutterflow. So, and then you can start seeing in the Flutterflow as well, like the new updates that's happened, which is quite neat, isn't it? So they also know that there is a gap between the apps you build through Replit, Flutterflow, and Bolt. It only takes you this far. So when you want to then start looking at the code, make it production quality, you bring it back and start using AI assistance tools to do it, and then sync back so you can still get the benefits of deployment, one-click deployment, so on and so forth. And also it's got an MCP server for Figma, which means if you had a Figma design, you can actually directly, connect to this and create your app through Figma, which I think is very, very powerful. Over to you, Letizia.
Yes, so I built it but it's not exactly working as expected, although I tried the same prompt 3 times. So as you can see, these tools are reliable at a certain level. Let me just share my screen. Sorry. So this is the version we built now, just to show you the difference so you get an idea, and then we maybe switch to cursor so we can, so in this case it's not even showing it. Let me try to, here it is. So this is a basic UI, but no functionality, so it's not working. Whereas the one I did today was working like this. And as you can see, I iterated a few times. So from the first version, I started adding mock data. Well, I started adding, let me show if it shows up. Anyway, I started adding mock data, which is a great way of testing on the front end. I make the water draggable. It works. I created an insight page with mock data.
Have you published the app, Letizia? Then you can show it via the app.
I have another version I made on Cursor, which is this one.
Yay, looks really neat.
And you can, and I added a raise it button. And also I checked, let me see. And also it's incredible because it, of course you have to add your credential in the env file, but then it connects to the database on Bolt. So it works pretty well. What we can do to this one, just to show you how cursor works. So this is cursor. And as you can see, it looks like a VS Code. You have your files here, you have your tree, your source tree, search bar, and then the chat bar. You can, let me see, change the settings, also as well personalize the way it works. And there's a lot of information online you can use for it. And let me try, for example, in this case, just to show you how it works, because it's a different way. You can select the mode you want to use. So for example, in this case, we're going to try the agent, but you can try also plan or chat. And in that case, it will have more control over the changes it makes. So I'm asking him now to add a dark light mode toggle. And he's making a plan. And then he starts straight away. So he's modifying the Tailwind config file. And then create the toggle and add it to here. And you can see the changes. Let's see if it works. Okay, that's not exactly what we wanted. All right, so we can iterate further and and do it and say something like a good start, but this is not the behavior we expected. The background color of the home page should change when you click on the toggle. And then, of course, here, the more specific you are, the better result you get. I'm gonna just send it now because of time, and it start fixing it. And then, of course, let's see. You can see the changes, and it highlights it. So, and you can also decide not to keep it, and you can undo. And every time you are in a conversation, you can undo whatever changes he made. The only thing you have to be aware is that sometimes it doesn't remove some code, and that can create problems later, apart affecting performance. Let's see.
And I just want to say, Letizia, if you actually put this app on mobile, I'm willing to pay for it, provided you get me to drink the water.
Okay, if it works, maybe let's take a few days.
I swear, because that's my problem. I mean, I forget to drink water, and I have to dehydrate myself. So when I saw that app, I was like, oh my god, that's such a useful one.
So there's something wrong here. It's not going well. We can start inspecting, go to the console and see if there's a problem. So let's see. So what I would do here, since we talk about debugging, I'm just gonna copy and paste all the message I get in the console and saying, I get this error and a white screen. And let's see. I am doing like a quick version of it. And let's see if he can solve it on his own. Otherwise, you'll have to start digging into the code and properly debug it. Oh, okay. Better. Now it's back. Thank you. Let me just do this. Okay. But again, still, do you want me to insist?
No, I think they get the point. I think I'll quickly switch over to and share my screen. Is there anything else you wanted to talk, Letizia? I know you know demo effect, which means your demo is stellar. if
always like this, always like I wanted to make a video.
I know. But it's okay. I think people, get the gist, and this is classical demo effect. If you're happening, if this happening means it's a great product. That's what we say. So I'm gonna share my screen and show Augment as well. Augment. Oh. Okay. And I think whilst I'm there, I think Lucia has asked some really good questions. And give me one sec. VS Code. Can you see my VS Code?
Yes.
Okay, great. So first things first, I think going back to our window here, I think Lucia was asking regarding GitHub Copilot that you have to specify the files to put. So it's also it's the update. Initially when I started with GitHub Copilot, the version we had in my business and enable. I don't know which version you're using. This was the case. And then when you go to Augment and Cursor, they automatically go through the files in the repo. What I like about Augment is that it's multi-repo. In an enterprise organization, you're never building one siloed repo, right? It's multiple repos. And I like the fact that Augment picks up all the repos, puts it together, looks at all the files in the repo, and creates its context and how they link to each other. And that's brilliant because you do not have to specify the context. And I think you can see why I prefer Augment and why I prefer um, a Cursor or Augment over Copilot. But even I feel like Augment is in a league of its own, I'll be honest. But that's again my feeling. Feel free to try both, and Letizia is in the Cursor camp, I'm in the Augment camp. So I think with Augment I needed a little bit of getting used to, but once I didn't take much time. And once I got there, I was like, I swear I'm not going to move from here. So there is so in GitHub Copilot as well, there's agentic modes that you can enable depending on what plans you have, and it actually now does very similar things. So Microsoft Copilot, and it does very similar things as well. So it was a pain. I think it's just doing the catch up, and depending on which plan you are, you may be, because I use it, and I now have the agent enabled, but this is done via the organization that I work for rather than my personal one. And then you had another question: what if it could automatically detect and run errors? And actually, Augment does this. So when it compiles, it looks at all the compile time errors. I use C# and I use XUnit for testing. So it looks at this, make sure it's all the warnings are fixed, does some testing as well, and make sure that that's fixed. And that's one of the reasons I love Replit as well, because I've found Replit is more consistent. Like what we saw in Bolt. I was using Bolt and then I shifted to Replit because I gave up on Bolt. But Letizia just powers through and she finds it useful as well. So Replit looks at the screen, takes a snapshot of the screen, can look at the screen that's not working, also knows to take a snapshot, and then says, okay, this has not worked, and then it just goes about talking to itself like, oh, this has not worked, and blah blah blah. Or sometimes if it's not able to pick up, I just take the snap of the thing and dump it, saying, this is what I can see, look at it, and then it processes the image and said, oh my god, this is not working, and then it fixes. So it's quite nice that you can take snapshots yourself and send, and some like Replit, for example, also does that. Now back to my Visual Studio. So Augment and Cursor is an IDE in itself, which you can use, but Augment, you can basically install it as an extension. So if this is your extension, and you can say, I want to install an extension. So whichever is your IDE, you can actually enable Augment, which I love, because then I don't need to change the IDE. And this is the code that came from Flutterflow. And as you can see, right, like these are some of the files that's changed. I want to go through all of this, but what I want to show is Augment, where you can actually say, so what I do when I'm coding, I take the context of which feature I want to develop, and create a file. I create a file, new text, put all the context. This is all the context you need about this project, right? So I put that project file. Then I take the feature I want to implement, that little tiny, like, oh, I want to add validation, a tiny, like a small task of that. I take it and I create a new thread and put it there. So here I do not have this thing, but you can go and say, like, what is my context. So if I were to say file, new text file, I'll say I want to, this is the context. I'm going to just save it as a context file, and I can, whatever the context is, I can be better planned with this, but so I've created a context file. Now I can go and select that context file here. What is it called? Context. Yeah, so context. So there you go. So I've chucked it somewhere, but that's okay. You can always give that context if there is any context or any file. So whatever file you open, that automatically is taken as a context. I love that you can actually give your memories, right? Like here, what is your user guidelines and rules? So things like, okay, this is how I want. I want code readability over optimization, right? And how I do not want overly too much comment for code that I can read and fairly understand. I don't want comments for that. So you can actually define your rules and guidelines here, and this is really great for like working with it, and you can drop your contacts as well here. So it's really good where you can actually say how you work. I'm a principal engineer, and this is how I want, or whatever you want to do. So, and your persona you can also include. So there's a lot of rules and user guidelines that you can say, like if you had like coding standards that is very specific to your organization, you can chuck it here as well. So I use this to create Swagger API documentation and just documentation in general, like the wiki pages. And what I do is I have an instruction.md as to how I expect the documentation of the Swagger APIs. It shouldn't start with like, oh, get and set, right? Like I don't want it to say, oh, you can get and set. I want it to say what, explain that feature. So all of that is in my instruction file, and I can create a Swagger API out of that. And I also use it for like testing. So I have some examples of how I do testing. So my rules are like, if you can use, inline functions, in your testing theory, and then you have multiple data, instead of writing like 10 different tests, try and see if you can club it in one test using, like if you're testing case sensitivity and there's like many inputs, then all of that can be one test, a theory test. I mean, it's basically an XUnit feature, but yeah. So you can actually define what you want and then go to town with it. So this is the Flutterflow project. And basically compile and then set off. And I like the fact that here you can also use in, it's in auto mode, but auto mode is like, you don't have to give you permission to do stuff. So basically it can connect to the branch itself. It can get the changes in the file, so it connects with the, like say git, and it does everything. And I say, okay, this is the branch, can you code review it? So it goes to the branch, it's able to bring the code files, and it'll code review and give you the comments as well. So if you want to use it for code review. What else is, you can enhance the prompt, of course. So you give a prompt, and then so going to like ChatGPT, you can enhance the prompt and context. And one thing I want to say about all of these tools you use is sometimes like the cursor augment always challenge what it's what it's come up with. Like, why do you think this is the best way? Why are you doing it this way? Isn't it better? And I've got some prompts where I say, like be direct, you don't have to be overly emotional, fluffy, blah blah blah, and then just be direct, and then it'll chat to you in that mode. So I always challenge the AI and never accept, I mean, unless it's very obvious. I usually say, why aren't we implementing it that? Why are we not designing it this way? And then and it learns through the way I interact with Augment. It actually learns and starts creating its own memories of how I prefer. I'm like, okay, I say, okay, this is a problem with this, and I prefer this. Then it adds it, and I say add it to the memory, and then it adds it to the memory, and then as you go, it's getting much better, and then it becomes like almost a twin, like a digital twin of you who can do code, which can code as in your style and in your preference as well. I think that's it. I want to say there's more, but we can't cover it all. I'm coming.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. It was really useful, and I think yeah, it was impressive because with one prompt you can create the whole application with backend, front end, and database and integrations, and also authentication with security. So I think we learned a lot today, and thank you very much to everyone. So it was really packed, and I think you have even more to say to all the participants. But this is it. I think if you're interested to learn something else, yes, please reach out to us, to any of us, and say what you would like to know, what you would like to learn, and then maybe we will organize more sessions for the vibe coding. I think this is interesting, probably for only for one tool, or maybe you have an idea and we can just demo it somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we have a few more planned vibe coding sessions, like how we use it for testing and document generation and so on and so forth. And another one, particularly just on security as well. So if you have ideas of what you want to see more, if you're on a community, come and reach out to us and let us know, and we can make it happen.
Yes, perfect. Yeah, thank you very much, and see you soon. Have a nice evening ahead. Bye bye.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thanks,
Thank you.
Leticia. Bye.
Thank you.